Friends, peace talks were held between Iran and the US in Islamabad, the capital of Pakistan. As we know, there is currently a 2-week ceasefire between the two sides. So, in the peace talks held in Islamabad, an attempt was being made to extend this fragile 14-day ceasefire and to prevent a larger war in West Asia. At the same time, there was an effort to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, which is crucial for the global economy. On these issues, discussions between the United States and Iran continued for 21 hours. Multiple rounds of talks took place. However, even after this, no peace deal could be reached. No successful outcome was achieved. The peace talks collapsed. Iran completely rejected the terms of the United States. It is obvious that within 9 months, the United States attacked Iran twice during negotiations, so Iran has clearly understood that the US cannot be trusted. Iran now believes that the only way to secure its sovereignty is to develop nuclear weapons. Therefore, during the talks, Iran refused to make any commitment that it would not pursue nuclear weapons. The core goal of the US and Israel was to stop Iran's nuclear capabilities. They wanted Iran to promise that it would not build nuclear weapons. By the way, before the war began, this was also Iran's position. Iran was following this stance. If Iran had wanted to build nuclear weapons, it could have developed them in the last 47 years. However, Iran's former supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, had issued a fatwa that nuclear weapons should not be developed. So, Iran had not developed nuclear weapons until now. If you remember, former US President Barack Obama signed a nuclear deal with Iran in 2015. Under this deal, Iran agreed that it would use nuclear energy only for peaceful purposes. It agreed that it would not develop nuclear weapons. The International Atomic Energy Agency was also conducting inspections inside Iran. No irregularities were found. Iran was adhering to the terms of this nuclear deal. However, under pressure from Israel, Donald Trump unnecessarily ended this deal few years ago and carried out unprovoked attacks on Iran during negotiations few days back. Iran's supreme leader was eliminated. After this, war began in West Asia. During this war, Iran realized that what it could not achieve in 47 years under sanctions, it achieved in 40 days of war. It brought the United States under pressure. It struck where it hurts the US the most, economy. It struck at the global economy by closing the Strait of Hormuz. After this, the United States began requesting a ceasefire. Iran has now understood that in today's world, the only requirement to remain sovereign is power. Whatever has happened in the last 40 days, including attacks on Iran, has made Iran realize that if it truly wants to remain sovereign, it must develop nuclear weapons. This, according to Iran, will keep the United States and its attempts to impose democracy away. North Korea is an example of this. Therefore, during the peace talks in Islamabad, when the United States demanded that Iran promise not to build nuclear weapons, Iran clearly refused. Iran said it would not accept such restrictions. It stated that these demands are against its sovereignty. In this way, Iran completely rejected the US offer. It described the US demands as excessive. It called the US requests unlawful. Iran has been continuously pointing out how the United States has breached its promises. It has argued that the United States has ignored Iran's legitimate rights and interests. In the war so far, due to its geography, Iran has had the upper hand. The Strait of Hormuz is completely under Iran's control. So, without any substantial benefit, Iran would not give up its strong position. On the other hand, the United States has also remained firm on its position. Because of this, the talks could not move forward. There was also a dispute over sanctions on Iran and its frozen funds. Iran wanted the assets frozen by the United States to be unfrozen. It also demanded sanctions relief. However, the United States did not fully agree to this. Iran also wanted its sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz to be recognized. The United States did not accept this either. Iran argues that just as Egypt charges toll on the Suez Canal and the Turkey charges toll in the Bosphorus Strait, it should also be allowed to charge toll on ships passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Iran claims that the Strait of Hormuz lies within the territorial waters of Iran and Oman. It says this is not an international waterway. Therefore, according to Iran, the sovereign decisions of Iran and Oman must be respected. However, the United States wants free global navigation in the Strait of Hormuz, as it existed before the war. This issue also remained unresolved. Then Iran also demanded reparations for the damage it suffered during the war. It further demanded that the ceasefire should be extended across the entire region. It wanted Lebanon to be included in the ceasefire. But the US and Israel did not agree to this. They consider Lebanon to be a separate conflict. In Lebanon, they are trying to weaken Hezbollah, which is Iran's strongest proxy, in order to reduce Iran's influence in the region. So, no agreement could be reached on this issue either. This is because the interests of both sides are in direct conflict. The United States says that Iran is very rigid and inflexible. At the same time, Iran accuses the United States of making excessive demands and breaking its promises. So, during the talks, a trust deficit was visible between both parties. Deep mistrust was evident. Hence, no deal could be reached. The US delegation left Pakistan without any agreement. Now, the future of the 14-day temporary ceasefire is completely uncertain. If no deal is reached in between, the war will restart after 14 days. So, what was the situation before the war? The Strait of Hormuz was open to everyone and Iran's nuclear risk was controlled. At that time, there was a wonderful opportunity. Talks could have been held with Iran and an attempt could have been made to reach a deal. Sanctions on Iran could have been lifted, and in return, a promise could have been taken that Iran would not develop nuclear weapons. At that time, everything could have been sorted out. But instead, the United States chose the path of military action. It launched Operation Epic Fury. This has so far turned out to be Operation Epic Failure. Now, the United States desperately wants the pre-war situation to be restored. It wants oil routes to be secured. It wants Iran's nuclear risk to be mitigated. The United States wants all of this, but now Iran is not agreeing. Now, Iran wants economic relief, sovereignty, and regional dominance. Iran's argument is simple. It believes that it has the upper hand. It has full capability to control a critical choke point like the Strait of Hormuz. It has the capacity to bring the global economy under pressure. So, it asks why it should accept US demands. Clearly, there is deep mistrust between both parties. Their priorities are completely different. This is why the peace talks failed. A high-profile attempt was made to de-escalate tensions through direct talks between the United States and Iran. However, due to fundamental disagreements, the talks collapsed. At present, no immediate resolution is visible. Iran says that there is no seriousness from the US side. When Donald Trump was asked about a deal with Iran, he said that it does not matter whether a deal happens or not. He said that the United States has already won. He claimed that US military goals have already been achieved. Think about it. Such statements are being made during peace talks. The United States is trying to show that the peace deal is only optional. It is projecting that its objectives have already been achieved. It is trying to show that it has already won, which is not true. It is also signaling that whether Iran agrees or not, the Strait of Hormuz will be reopened. So an attempt is being made to present a narrative that is not entirely accurate. It is being projected that the United States is not desperate for a ceasefire deal, but Iran is. This is mainly signaling for a domestic audience. It is an attempt to project power. Donald Trump is trying to show domestic audiences that the US is winning. He is trying to show that there is no need for compromise. See, Trump's approval ratings have been declining. So he does not want to be perceived as weak. And this precisely is the problem in the US at present. The perception of victory is being given more importance than actual victory. No matter how much damage has occurred, it is being presented as if the United States is very strong. It is being shown that it is not dependent on diplomacy. Overall, there is an attempt to downplay failure. At the same time, a strategic message is being sent to Iran that the war can be escalated again if needed. Due to such tough rhetoric, the risk of war restarting has increased significantly. The risk of war also means the risk of a global economic crisis. The United States is following a strategy of pressure and military dominance. Iran is following a strategy of resistance and strategic bargaining. US Vice President J.D. Vance has also said that the failure of the peace deal is bad news. However, he added that it is worse for Iran than for the United States. He said that the US has already presented its final proposal. Now, it is up to Iran to accept it or not. On the other side, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that the military campaign against Iran is not over. He said that it is still ongoing. He said that there is much more to be done. This makes it clear that the 2-week temporary ceasefire is only a pause. During this pause, both sides will regroup. They will reposition themselves. They will learn from past mistakes and prepare a new strategy. After that, a planned military campaign may be launched. A nuclear-armed Iran is seen as a threat to Israel's existence. So, Israel wants to stop Iran from developing nuclear weapons at any cost. However, Iran has strong incentives to develop nuclear weapons. Israel believes that stopping now will leave the job incomplete. Iran believes that without nuclear weapons, its sovereignty will remain under threat. It fears that the United States and Israel will continue attacking Iran. So, both sides have conflicting goals. Since Iran's nuclear capabilities have not been fully destroyed, strikes inside Iran could resume at any time. Iran understands this. Iran says that it is prepared for this. This means that both sides are ready for conflict. So unfortunately, after a short pause, a second phase of the conflict is likely to be seen.